MWC 2015 may have come to an end, but we still have one last look at the Samsung Galaxy S6 to bring you. The Samsung flagships go head-to-head in this, the Samsung Galaxy S6 versus the Galaxy Note 4. Perhaps for the first time ever in a Samsung versus, we're looking at metal frames in both devices. These are design choices that you may have already seen in the Galaxy Alpha, but now they are becoming the standard for Samsung smartphones. We'll start with the Note 4, which still is a Samsung phone through and through, with its faux leather plastic back that is also removable, so you can get to the replaceable battery and the microSD card slot. The signature Samsung layout is up front with the tactile home button, integrated finger scanner underneath, and the recent apps and back buttons flanking it, with 2.5D glass adding a little bit of visual flair to the front of the device. And if you go to the bottom, of course, as this is a Note device, we of course have the S Pen nestled in the corner. The Galaxy S6 may retain these signature Samsung design elements, but Samsung has certainly moved on in terms of its build material, now favoring that metal frame and glass back combination for a premium look and feel in the hand. What you will notice about the metal frame on the Galaxy S6 is that it still retains that somewhat tapered, raised look on the top and bottom corners that were originally introduced in the Galaxy Note 4, which is really nice. The curved sides and the edges allow for a more rounded look overall despite this, compared to the more rigid lines of the Note 4, but the S6 is still as thin and sleek as ever found in their line. This design choice is not without its compromises though. In the S6, the battery is not replaceable and there's no option for microSD card expansion because the backing is of glass rather than a plastic, and it is not removable. And this is something that I think many fans are going to miss about the S6. The camera module also tends to stick out quite a bit as well, which could be a problem when laying the phone flat on a surface or sliding it around like some tend to do. The playing field is evened out on the display front, with the Note 4 and the Galaxy S6 featuring Super AMOLED displays as per usual with Samsung devices, but now with Quad HD resolution across the board, with the only real difference being in size. 5.7 inches for the Note 4 and 5.1 inches for the Galaxy S6. But the pixel densities also changed from 515 to 577, so that's a bit of a sizable difference, but when you look at these two devices side by side, the difference isn't actually all that noticeable. Samsung is also well known for its display prowess, and that certainly shines through with these flagships. You get deep blacks, bright and vibrant colors, great brightness, and good viewing angles all found here. And both of the displays really do pop. But nonetheless, both of these devices should provide very good media experiences no matter which one that you choose, and with the 5.1 inches being the size that we pretty much prefer when it comes to handling, maybe that is a compromise many of us are willing to make. In performance, we see Samsung setting a bit of a precedent going from the Note 4 to the Galaxy S6, as the Note 4 packs a quad-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 805, clocked at 2.7 GHz, backed by the Adreno 420 and 3 GB of RAM. The other version of the Note 4 boasts an equally powerful octa-core Exynos processor, and the performance on either is pretty much what you would expect. Pretty great. But with the Galaxy S6, Samsung seems to have given Qualcomm a pass this time around, as globally the S6 will be packing an Exynos 7420 along with 3 GB of RAM. Now the S6 just oozes power, and I cannot emphasize this enough that in the little time that I did have with the Galaxy S6, I thought that its version of TouchWiz was probably the best and most fluid one that was available yet. The transitions look very nice, and it was actually kind of scaled back in terms of just the feature set that is really in your face from the get-go. And I did enjoy my experience with it already, and we'll see what it's like in our review units. Things remain largely identical in terms of additional hardware though, with both featuring fingerprint scanners and heart rate monitors. But the S6 doesn't come with expandable storage, and of course the big plus point for the Note 4 is the ability to use the S Pen stylus. But if you are using the Note 4, as many have, without the S Pen, that is perfectly fine as well, as it performs just as well without the stylus experience. On the battery front, the Note 4 packs the larger 3220 mAh battery compared to the 2600 mAh unit of the S6. Of course, the battery is also replaceable with the Note, and so we'll definitely have to see how the S6 performs in the real world to see if its non-removable nature makes any sort of impact. The Exynos 7420 is said to be a lot more frugal with its power consumption, so the step down in terms of battery size maybe will not matter. We're going to take a look at the cameras now, and though we don't have any samples to show you the differences in quality between these two phones, we imagine they're going to be, well, pretty similar, because both devices feature identical 16 megapixel rear cameras, and as such the experience should be largely the same across the board. But in the Galaxy S6 we have some improvements to the optics on both ends. We have a 5 megapixel camera on the front, and both of these cameras on the front and back, that is, have 1.9 apertures, f1.9 apertures, along with auto live HDR found on both. So you should be able to get some pretty good photos already in low light, given the conditions are at least somewhat ideal, and the auto HDR will allow you to get an even more vivid shot because you will be able to see what kind of shot you're going to get with the HDR on. With more testing required, we can certainly expect at the very least that we will get more of the same from the Galaxy S6, if not even better, and that's something we're really excited to test out once we get our review unit. And finally, in software, we do find it pretty easy to dismiss the next Samsung iterations, as has been the case over the last couple of years, because TouchWiz is TouchWiz is TouchWiz. That's always been the case, but it seems that that story has changed this time around. But TouchWiz is always usually packed to the hilt with features, with even more so being found in the Note 4 because of the S Pen, and all those additional features do tend to be a little bit overwhelming for plenty of users. That being said, a lot of the Note 4 features, despite not necessarily being used, do have a function in one way or another, and a number of the features like multi-window and certain clipping features of the S Pen do tend to help out from time to time. So for some users out there, especially those who use the S Pen, they may have a great productive experience with the Note 4. Things are certainly different with the S6 though, even if not aesthetically so much. The number of features and applications pre-installed have been kind of reduced, with users now given the option to pick and choose what they want and what to uninstall. In the S6 as well, like I said before, a lot of the features that you're usually used to having in the S6 don't seem to be all up in your face anymore. And because of that, you have a much more fluid experience going in and out of the home screens and through the app drawers, and even with the notification dropdown, which usually shows all of the different features that are available, but this time around didn't really seem to be all that overwhelming. For veterans of the Samsung ecosystem, you might find the S6 to be a breath of fresh air, especially if you think that TouchWiz has gotten a little bit too big for its britches over the last year or so. That being said though, the Note 4 brings a lot of great features to the table, and you can always turn off the ones that you're not going to use. But that being said, the S6 kind of might be the experience we've been waiting for from Samsung, and we can't wait to get our hands on it to take a look at this version of TouchWiz for our full review. And so there you have it for this quick look at the Samsung Galaxy S6 versus the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. These are the two giants currently in the Samsung ecosystem, and they are certainly worthy of the term flagship. What matters here though is what features you really need in order to get the most out of your daily smartphone usage. It seems to us that the Galaxy S6 is trying to retake the flagship name, but Samsung had to compromise in creating a very sleek and very thin and very beautiful device, in removing some of the features that really made Samsung one of the top device manufacturers of the Android world. But if you really need things like the replaceable battery and the micro SD card slot, you can always find that in the Note line, and from our assessment, we think that the Note line is going to have all of these features going forward. So if you need the full feature-packed device, then maybe the Note line is what you're going to stick with. But the S6 looks like it's going to change the game a little bit, and we're excited to see where that goes. So keep it tuned to Android Authority for our future review of the Samsung Galaxy S6, and for a more in-depth versus between these two devices that I will do once I get that review unit. But until then, you can keep it tuned here and watch the rest of our coverage from MWC 2015 in Barcelona, Spain. I hope you enjoyed all of our coverage, and from there, you can keep it tuned here, drop us some likes on our videos, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And then remember to head on over to AndroidAuthority.com, because we are your source for all things Android.